Okay, I have a budget Android 5.1 5-inch smartphone here to review. This is the gold model. It also comes in black, and also some sellers may have a silver model. I'm going to tell you about the specs first, then I'm going to tell you what comes included in the box, and I'll also show you the device close up and show you how thin it is. I'll do my best to show you the smartphone as well as I can. I am using a broken tripod at the moment, unfortunately though, but I'll do my best to show it to you. Then at the end, near the end, I will show you it turned on and just show you it in action a little bit. That'll just be very brief. Then I'll give you my opinions on it and if I've had any problems with it and what works well, and I'll tell you if I recommend it at the end. Okay, so for a CPU it uses an ARM Cortex-A7 1.3 GHz quad-core processor, and it is quad-core. It uses 4 cores, which is pretty good for a phone at this price range, and a GPU of I think I'm saying this right, a Melee 400 MP1, which has 1 core, and it has 1 GB of RAM. It has 8 GB of internal storage for saving things like photos and apps, but you can also insert a micro SD card up to SDXC, so you can put in a fairly good size SD card to add more storage to it, which is very handy. The screen, as I mentioned at the beginning, is 5 inches, which I think is just right. I wouldn't want a phone really any bigger than this because I think you can't really type across the whole screen and hit all the keys one-handed. So I think this is a perfect sort of size. It's nice and big without being too big. It's an IPS screen, so if you tilt it a bit, it's not going to go all white like an old ATM machine. It's going to stay looking pretty good. And it has a resolution of 540 by 960 and it is 24 bits. As I mentioned, it uses Android 5.1 Lollipop, so quite a new build of Android. It has a 2200 mAh battery. It runs down reasonably fast, but remember this is a phone that costs under £55 in the UK, so it's very good specs for the price. But the battery does run down pretty fast depending upon what you have turned on. So I do recommend you turn off Bluetooth if you're not using it, because that will drain your battery a bit. If you don't need Bluetooth, I recommend you turn it off. Also, there is that kind of vibration effect when you're typing. If you turn that off, that will save battery, although I quite like it, so I leave it on. The battery is removable and replaceable if you need to. The back side of the shell just snaps off, just clicks off, and you can take out the battery, you can put in a SIM card, you can put in a SD card there, then you can just click the case back on, but I'd make sure you go around all the edges and squeeze down and make sure all the edges are snipped back on. It has Wi-Fi as well. It has 802.11n Wi-Fi, and it is capable of using a Wi-Fi hotspot. You charge it via USB 2.0. At the bottom there is a micro USB slot for charging, and in the box it does come with a wall adapter. It unfortunately uses Bluetooth 2.0. I wish it had used at least 3.0 or even 4.0. It does use a slightly older model of Bluetooth 2.0, but it's still plenty usable. It does have built-in GPS and AGPS. It weighs 165 grams. Its dimensions are 71 by 146 by 7.9 millimeters. So it's just under 8 millimeters thick. It's very thin. That's what I really like about this phone. It has a nice size screen, but yet it's lightweight and super thin. In fact, the dimensions seem to be roughly, not quite, but it's very similar to the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. So if you want to get a case for this, well, not one that probably clips on, it might not work, but if you want to get, say, one of those slip-on cases or a pouch for this, you might find cases or pouches that are advertised as being usable for the S7 Edge should work for this. You can probably slip this into a pouch advertised for that phone. It does have a proximity, light and accelerometer sensors. So you can have it dim the screen and brighten the screen depending upon the lighting conditions in the room. And accelerometer, in case you don't know what that is, it's also known as a G sensor. Basically, that can be used in things like games, but one of the really good things is it's for raising your phone up, and when you lift it to your head, the screen should turn off. Then when you lower your phone to, say, type on it or whatever, the screen automatically comes back on. It's something that I think was probably first popularized by the iPhone. I could be wrong, but basically the good point to that is the thing that's most likely to give out radiation is the screen. So it turns off as you raise it to your head to prevent having that radiation close to your head, which is very good little health feature. As I mentioned, it is a 3G phone with talk time of about 3 hours, 3G talk time of 3 hours, and a 3G standby time of 180 hours. It does have a headphone jack in the top right, and it has both a front-facing and back-facing camera. The back-facing camera is an 8 megapixel camera with dual LED flash, capable of recording videos of 720p HD 30 frames a second. It supports various features such as autofocus, stabilization, geotagging, HDR photography, panoramic photography, touch to focus, and face detection. And its front-facing camera is 5 megapixels, which is quite good for a front-facing camera, which also has dual LED flash. So very good specs. What about the case? It is plastic, it is very thin, it is very plasticky, but remember this is under £55 and I think it's about $50 in the US, so it's really good specs. And I actually think for a plastic phone it actually looks really nice, and it's so ultra thin. I'll show you it a little bit closer up. Now what comes in the box, there's a nice manual, detailed manual. There is a micro USB charging cable and a 3-prong wall adapter, although if you're buying this in another country such as the US, I'm sure you'll get the right mains plug for your region. But in the UK it comes with a 3-prong wall plug. So you plug the full-size USB-A end into the wall plug, then plug that into the wall, and of course you have the little micro end in your phone, so you don't have to plug your cable into something like a desktop PC or a laptop. So if you're in like a hotel room without anything else, like a laptop you can plug it into, as long as you have that adapter with you, you can just plug it from the phone into the wall adapter and into the mains power and charge it that way. So that is very handy. It does come with that free. Okay, I hope you can see this well. I am working with a broken tripod, so it's a little tricky to show you this. I'm having to hold it. As you can see at the right, they do have a light sensor you can turn off just pressing it on the screen, or rotation, so you can lock it so it doesn't rotate when you turn it over. Then you have location for the GPS, then you have Bluetooth, which I have turned off. Then you have Wi-Fi, you can just hit that button to turn Wi-Fi on and off, Bluetooth on and off. Right there, you can get the settings here. Some of these things I have installed myself. It comes with Facebook and Twitter and WhatsApp pre-installed. I've put on a few things like Instagram, Metamo, which is a Nintendo 3D social network. It does have the Google Play Store on it, so you can get apps from the Google Android Play Store. So that's really good. You can easily add more apps. Down the bottom here on the actual screen you have some sort of virtual buttons, which is like a back button, a home button, and a app drawer, so you can close any open apps. But down here is a physical home button as well, in case you need it. You can press that and go back to the home screen using a physical button. The only other buttons is on the side here. There is a volume rocker up and down and a power button. It boots up fairly quickly. I'm impressed by how quick this boots up, because I had which has stopped working now, but I had an iPad 3rd generation and it actually took ages to boot up. This is very fast, just about, I don't know, 5, maybe 10 seconds at the most. It does seem pretty quick. And in a sec I'm just going to go into Metamo just to show you that it is capable of 3D absolutely fine. Of course some of the really latest state-of-the-art top graphics games I'm not really sure about, but it is capable of at least basic 3D applications such as Metamo. Let me just show you. Okay, there's a 3D game, or it's technically not a game but application, running absolutely fine there. I can spin around, it's not lagging or anything, it's very fast and responsive. The only trouble I have is a touchscreen, and I think this is not the fault of the actual hardware but the programming. Some of the buttons are very hit and miss, it's not very accurate. Now in this game it's absolutely fine. Like if I was to tap up here, absolutely worked first time. Mostly it does, but I think they've programmed it the border is a little bit wrong on some of the interface or the drivers or something, because on keyboards I've noticed if you try to hit the space bar dead on the space bar, it will normally if I try to hit the space bar dead on, it will actually hit the V button above it. So when you think you're hitting space and making space between words, you're actually hitting lots of V's. So you could write, say, like, I am, then hit space, so and so, and in between those two words you have a V instead of a space. So it can be a little annoying how hit and miss it can be on some of the type in. Let me just try and show you. Okay, let's give this a go. I'm not sure how well it's going to show on camera. Let's try what right in Doctor Who. Now let's try hitting space. There, I hit dead on the space, but it did a V. See? I have to hit low down on the space and it will take it. There we go. Now, like I say, it doesn't do it on all keyboards, and if you install a different keyboard, I think it might work a little bit better. And it doesn't do it on all interfaces, so I really believe it isn't a hardware problem. I think they just need to update it, and you can update it. Let me just show you that. If we go to Settings, scroll down to About Phone. Now in the About box you got things like model number VK800x, Android version 5.1. Now if you hit wireless update, it'll then say what the current version is. You can hit check for updates, it'll check for updates, and it says your system is currently up to date. So I think that's all it really needs, is a software update to fix some of the alignment issues with the buttons. Because that's what I could be wrong, but I personally feel it's a software issue. This, because some screens, some applications, you can hit buttons every time, first go, no problem. It's just on some interfaces, especially keyboards, there seems to be a bit of a issue with the way that it's sort of set to pick up the touch. So I really think that is a software issue, though. This is a bit of a pity. Okay, so for the price, it is an excellent phone for under £55, about $50 I think. It is really nice, and I thought gold might look really bad in plastic, but actually it looks really sharp, because I thought gold really won't work well on a thin plastic device, but actually it looks fairly nice. It doesn't look too cheap. Yeah, if you hold the back cover, if you take the back cover off to put the SIM card in, the back cover feels very thin and very plasticky, very cheap. But once it's actually on, the whole phone altogether looks very nice. I really do like it a lot for the price. Under £55 is a great phone. The battery could be a little bit better, but again, such good specs overall with things like the GPU, the RAM, etc. for the price. And the battery is replaceable, so maybe if they brought out an upgraded battery you could buy separately if you wanted to, that might be a possibility, we'll say. But it is a replaceable battery, so if something goes wrong with the battery, unlike some phones, you can actually replace the battery yourself. So if that battery died, you could go on Amazon, eBay or whatever, or contact the makers, manufacturers and get a new battery. So that's really good. I have to point out that some sellers advertise this as dual SIM, which implies you can put in 2 phone SIM cards and swap between the two. Some models of phones, I think even by the same company, do that, and this is advertised as even by the manufacturers, but that is actually incorrect. It has 2 card slots, yes, but not 2 SIM card slots. It has a SIM card slot and a micro SD, also known as a TF card slot. So it's 1 SD card slot and 1 SIM card slot, so it's 1 SIM and 1 micro SD, not 2 SIMs. So in case you've seen this advertised and that's why you're watching this video, I want to emphasise, if that's what you're looking for is a dual SIM card phone, this is not for you. It's advertised as dual SIMs, but it's actually 1 SIM card slot and 1 micro SD card slot. So make sure you bear that in mind. The only thing that lets this down a bit at the moment is its touchscreen, and like I've mentioned earlier, I believe that is purely some software issues there, because on some applications you never have a problem. It's mostly on keyboards where you go to press on things like the space bar and it'll hit slightly above it, it'll hit on like the V or the B. and occasionally on some other programs you might have to hit just below the button to get it to register, and it doesn't do it all the time, not in all programs. I really believe that's a software issue, but it's a real pity they haven't got that sorted in the current build, because it does let it down at this stage. But overall, I'm very, very impressed by how slim and lightweight and what good specs it has for the price. A really high quality budget phone. I really do recommend it. So please like and comment. If you could do me a huge favour and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it just takes a few seconds and will help me out a lot. Also, if you're watching this as a review on Amazon, please hit the useful or helpful button along with this review, and that will help me out a lot too. Thanks for watching.